Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Shane, coming to you live from Summit Academy. In this video, working on that Unit 8, lesson number 2 now, and it says, notice and wonder, intersecting circles. What do you notice? What do you wonder? So I want you to pause, think with your partner, kind of share some ideas, and I'll write some of these on the board. Maybe talk about the circles, talk about the radius, talk about the triangle. What do you notice? What do you wonder? On the next part, it says use the circle to estimate the area of the square shown here. Again, as a reminder, since it is a square, it's equal side lengths. And what we can say is this. We can say, well, I know the area of this square. I can write it like this. I can say area is going to be equal to the side length squared. And so what I can do is I can try to estimate by figuring out what is going to be that side length. And so I can say, well, if I look at this point, I would say, hey, this point is the point 5, 2. However, if I look at the actual side length, again, I'm talking about this side length, and I kind of rotated it. If I rotated this side length down, it would go the whole way past 5. So make sure you're noticing that it kind of goes past that point. So it's greater than 5. So I can kind of estimate it. It's not quite on 5.5, it's below it. So I can say, well, if this is about 5.3, that means that this side length is also 5.3, since it's a square. And so what I can do is I can say, again, this is s squared. This is s squared, not to be confused with the 5. And so I could say the area of that square is going to be just like this. I say 5.5 or 5.3 squared. And what I can do, use that wonderful Desmos calculator. Let me pull it up for you guys like this. And I can say, if I take 5.5, if I hit Shift 6, notice how the cursor goes up. And I hit exponent 2. And so I can say, well, it's going to be about 28.09. So let me get rid of that again. I'm going to say it's going to be about, I'm going to say the area of this is going to be 28.09. Let me say units squared, since we're talking about our area. So make sure that you're careful in that. Again, make sure you're saying it's in between that 5 and 6. So same kind of idea. However, now you want to say, well, I can check my answer using the grid in front of the first problem. So what I want you to do is let's do like this, use strategy from lesson 1. And what that means is draw that big square, just like we've been doing. Find the area of that big square. That side length is 7. So that means the area of that square. So I can do area of that big square, purple, is going to be 7 squared, which is 49. Then I can find the triangles inside of those. I can kind of draw something like this. I can say, hey, if this is a 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangle, I can say the area of that triangle is going to be 2 times 5 over 2, which is equal to 5. So each of these triangles is going to be 5. So that means, again, the area inside of these triangles is 5. Since there's 4 of those triangles, I can say that 4 times the area of that triangle is going to be 20. So what I can do is I can take and say, well, if I know the area of the big square minus the area of the small small triangles, so I can do 49 minus 20, I can say that's going to be 29. I was trying to estimate the side length, so that's again, this is the area of the blue square. However, when you're going from the area to the side length, you have to take the square root. So I'd say the side length side length is going to be equal to the square root of 29. And so what you can do is use that wonderful Desmos calculator. Let me pull that back up. And let me clear that out. Actually, I could say I want to compare it. So if I say square root, hit that square root button, type in 29, I would say, hey, it's pretty close because if I look at my decimal, it's really close to 5.3. So that was the estimate. Kind of, eyeballed it and said, hey, it's going to be close to 3.9, or sorry, 5.3. And so I know that is going to be a little bit closer. So I can say this, my side length is going to be about or approximately 5.3 units. Where the area was 29. All right. Again, feel free to pause, rewind, replay as needed. On the next one, it says find the area of each square and estimate the side lengths using your geometry toolkit. And so when you're finding the side lengths, you can use that protractor. I can write some of these lengths for you. Again, you can use that. You can use ruler or protractor. Protractor to measure. Or if you wanted to, you could do the same thing what we did in this previous slide where we took the side lengths and calculated it like that. Either way would work. So for example, if I gave you the side lengths, let's say this is 2.8 centimeters, this is 2.2, and this is 1.9, you'd have to say, well, I can take and find the square of this. So I'd take, so let's say the area of A is going to be, 2.8 squared. So that would be, use that calculator again, pull it up. So clear this out. So I said 2.8 squared, so it's going to be about 7.84. So I'd say this is going to be about, so the area of A is going to be equal to 7.84. So find each of those. So now, let me clear this out one more time. So now, your turn. Try finding 2.2 squared and find 1.9 squared. For number 2, it says complete the table with the missing side lengths and the areas. Same idea. If it gives you the side length, we're going to square it to find the area. So I'm going to say this is squared to get my area. So let me pull up my calculator again. And so I'm going to say if I have 0.5 squared, I'm going to say that's 0.25. So this is 0.25. However, when you're going from the area to the square or the side length, you have to take the square root this time. So now when I take the square root of 1, to type it in like this, I would say use that little keypad, square root button. I type in 1. I can say square root of 1 is 1. So make sure when you're finding the square roots, you're taking and finding the side length. So so when you're finding side length, this is square root of area. When you are finding the area, this is side length raised to the x, or let me say that too. Let me say to second power, or exponent of 2. Let me do 2 more with you. I would say for the next one, I had 1.5 squared is going to be 2.25. And if I have my area is 4, that means I have the square root of 4. So make sure you're using this little keypad down here so that way you can find the square root symbol or that radical symbol. So let me write my values here. So I said, so let me actually write it like this. This is 0.25, this was 2.25, and my square root of 4, or my side length when area is 4, is going to be 2. So try out, so pause and calculate. All right. So now on the back, same kind of idea. We're finding the area of a 81 square feet, and it says select all expressions that are equal to side length in feet. So we're saying it's coming up with, well, if the area is, so A equals 81, we're saying we're coming up with the side length. Well, we would have to say the side length is to be a square root of 81, which is equal to 9. So a couple of different ways you can write it. 81 divided by 2 is not the correct answer. However, square root of 81 is good. We can say 9 is good. Square root of 9 is incorrect because that is equal to 3, which is the last choice as well. So make sure you can have those in there for yourself. For number 2, it says write the exact value of the side length in units of a square whose area in square units is what. So you're now finding, so you're saying this is equal to area, and you need to find the, so find square root. So square root of 36 is 6. You can say then find square root of 37, whatever that is equal to. It should be 6 point something. I do square root of 36 real quick. Sorry, it's square root of 37, so 6.02, or sorry, 0.8. Yeah, 0.8. That's going to be equal to 6.08. When we do this one, take the square root of the entire thing, which is the same as writing the square root for the top and the bottom. So square root of 100 is 10, square root of 9 is 3. So the side length would be 10 over 3. For the next one, type it in your calculator, find square root. So like this, I'm going to write it square root of 2 over square root of 5. Which, if we pull that up, let me show you what I'm looking at. Clear this out. So we said square root of 2 divided by the square root of 5 gives you that number. We can say for the next one, we said it was square root of 0.0001. So that's side length is 0.01. And lastly, square root of 0.11 is going to be that number. So make sure you can have those in there for yourself. Again, if you need to pause, feel free to. And then on number 3, it says square A is smaller than square B. Square B is smaller than square C. It gives you the 3 side lengths. It says, what is the side length of square A, B, and C? So what we can do is I can kind of figure out, well, the side lengths are given, but I know if I take 4.2 squared, I can find the area. So let's find 4.2 squared. It's going to be 17.64. So let me find that. So 4.2 squared is equal to 17, what did I say, 0.64? Yeah, 0.64. And I'm saying, okay, my side length, so that means 4.2 is equal to the square root of 17.64. And what I can do is I can compare. Well, I know A is less than B, which is B is less than C. And so if I compare, if I look at square root of 11, square root of 17.64, and the square root of 26, I know that that's going to be the order. So I would say A is going to be square root of 11. I'm going to say B is going to be square root of 17.4, which is that 4.2, so this is going to be 4.2. And lastly, C is going to be the square root of 26. And the last one, find the area of a square if its side length is that. So all we're doing for this one, when we find the area, we can take this amount squared. So I'm saying 1 over 5 squared. So that's just going to be 1 over 25, which is fine. This is going to be equal to 3 squared and 7 squared, which is 9 over 49. This is 11 over 8, both squared, so I have 121 and 64. I have 0.1 squared, which I believe is 0.01. Yeah, that's going to be 0.01. And then I have 3.5 squared, is going to be equal to, so 3.5 squared is 12.25. So that's going to be equal to 12.25. So you can make sure you're finishing that up. Make sure you work on that exit ticket. Pause, rewind, ask questions as needed. And as always, super slam that subscribe button.